Hello, Adriane. Thank you for accepting to give this interview.
Hi, Jamie. No, thanks for having me.
And could you tell us a bit about you?
Sure. So I'm currently an assistant professor at Binghamton University here in New York in the United States. It's actually my first semester as an assistant professor. For the past 3 years, I was a postdoctoral fellow, also here at Binghamton. Um, and I'm also a micropaleontologist, and I also do invertebrate paleontology as well. And I also do science communication and education outreach, both research and then in practice as well.
Well, and talking a bit about micropaleontology, what do you like in micropaleontology?
Okay, so my favorite part about micropaleontology is that things are really small. I've always loved miniatures and small things from when I was a little kid. I used to collect miniatures. So when I started my journey in science, which began actually in community college, I went out in the field one day with my geology class and we collected bivalves, um, gastropods, and I didn't find any shark teeth, but there were rumored to be shark teeth around from a Neogene age deposit. And I was like, this is so cool. So I really wanted to get involved with paleontology research. So I transferred from community college to my undergraduate institution, James Madison University. And it was there that I started getting introduced to microfossils. First, it was conodonts. I worked with conodonts with Dr. Stephen Leslie. And I thought they were so cute because they were miniature. And then I started working on a project with planktic foraminifera and doing a biostratigraphy on a core from the Gulf of Mexico. And that got me totally hooked. Planktic foraminifera, that's where my heart lies. I love benthic foraminifera too, but the planktics just really have like brought me in and captured me. My imagination and they're really what I love to focus on for my research. So I love working as their taxonomy, biostratigraphy. I also do geochemistry using planktic foraminifera. And all of that is kind of done to infer the evolutionary history of this group. But also, I like to use geochemical proxies and sedimentological proxies from forams in the sediments, of course, to also reconstruct ancient ocean currents. So, namely, Western boundary currents, like the Gulf Stream that flows off the east coast of North America, and the Kuroshio Current extension that flows off the east coast of Japan.
And Adrian, you talk about science communication. Can you tell us a bit about it as well?
Sure. So I'm a co-founder and co-president of Time Scavengers. One of my very good friends, Dr. Jennifer Bauer, and I started this when I was in my second year of my PhD at UMass Amherst. So first of all, I was very fortunate that my PhD advisor was very supportive of me doing that. And it began when she and I got together and we were just kind of frustrated with how science communication and climate change and evolutionary theory were being talked about within the general public. So during that time in 2016, we were going through an election cycle here in the States, and it was a little contentious. So we had a lot of anger about how things were being represented and misinformation and disinformation. So I went to Jen and I said, well, why don't we start a website where we make this information about climate change and evolutionary theory accessible to the public? She was immediately on board. And Jen has so many great ideas. And we've grown this, what started as a website, into now a nonprofit organization. So we have informational pages on our website about climate change and evolutionary theory. We have 6 different blog series where we kind of showcase who's a scientist and who can be a scientist, and that's on our Meet the Scientist blog. The other blogs kind of showcase or pull back the curtain on what scientists do, whether we're in the field, in the classroom, doing outreach, in the lab. And since we've become a nonprofit, of course, we now have a board of directors, and we have other folks that have joined us that are in positions of like secretary and our financial officer. And we also have a bunch of collaborators from all over the world, all over the country, that help us write content for the website and also help us develop new initiatives. So Time Scavengers has grown from a website where originally we just wanted to do education outreach and provide accessible information surrounding climate change and evolutionary theory to the public or aspects of the general public. But now we're also shifting towards really supporting and helping train the next generation of Earth stewards. And we're doing this through 2 new initiatives. The first is the Tilly Ettinger Travel Grant. It's a crowd-funded travel grant. We're crowdfunding for it right now for our next cycle, where we send students to conferences and we pay the abstract fees and registration costs up front. So we're getting rid of that financial barrier that is so harmful to so many students. We're also doing the virtual internship program for science communication, or what we call VIP SciComm, our first iteration of that was last summer. We had 5 interns, and we paid them each $1,000 each. We worked with them one-on-one. So every student or every intern was assigned a Time Scavengers mentor, met one-on-one. They wrote about 10 blog posts for Time Scavengers. We edited their blog posts, gave them feedback and training in how to do science communication. But then also we had a weekly group meeting where a science communication expert came in and talked to them about different aspects of science communication. So for example, we had Riley Black come in. She's a really famous paleo author, has written a lot of news articles and books. She came in and gave a talk to her students or interns just about writing for the public. So it was aspects like that where we got them kind of doing hands-on science communication, but also learning from the experts.
Well, that's really great. And so you've told us a bit about what you've done and what you do, and can you tell us a bit about future plans?
Sure. So my lab and I are really focused right now on 2 periods of time: the mid-Pliocene warm period, which is a warming period about 3 million years ago. And we're also really focused on the mid-Miocene climate optimum and the mid-Miocene climate transition. This was another warming period when Earth's atmospheric carbon dioxide levels got pretty high. So both of these events are great analogs to infer how Earth systems may operate under increased warming and increased atmospheric CO2 concentrations. So my lab and I are working on aspects of what happened with the forams, did this warming, and then for the Miocene, the subsequent cooling due to expansion of Antarctic ice. How did that affect evolutionary processes within certain lineages, especially for forams that live in the mid-latitudes that may have been highly affected by ice growth or increased seasonality? We're also really interested in how that warming and subsequent cooling affected ocean currents, so these western boundary currents that I mentioned, and these major gyre systems. So I was part of International Ocean Discovery Program Expedition 371 in 2017, where we drilled in the Tasman Sea, so in the South Pacific. So we're working with sediments from there still today. And this past summer, I was part of IODP Expedition 390 and 393, specifically 393, where we went out to the South Atlantic and drilled sediments from around the mid-latitude regions as well. So we have a lot. I now have 2 expeditions I've been on where we were in the mid-latitudes. So we have a lot of sediments from those expeditions that we're working on actively. And then my dissertation research was focused on the Northwest Pacific, the Kuroshio Current extension. So I've got students working in all of these areas, working together on these projects to kind of infer what happened during these 2 climate events in these areas. And the big plan is to eventually bring all this data together and have a more holistic look at what happens to these ocean currents, but also these gyre systems across warming and then subsequent cooling events.
Do you have any role model?
Oh yes, I have so many role models. So all of the women in my life have been amazing role models. My mom, my grandma, was my mother-in-law's. All of them are so incredible. So I'll stick to the ones in academia. So when I first started in undergrad at James Madison, Dr. Kristen St. John, she was my kind of mentor and advisor on research. So I conducted my first research project with plankton foraminifera with her. And she was this woman scientist. She had a family. She was really involved with education and outreach and science communication, and highly involved with the International Ocean Discovery Program. So it was through her I kind of got bitten by the scientific ocean drilling bug, and as well as working with plankton foraminifera. So she and I are still really close friends, good collaborators. She's still one of my closest mentors to this day. I went and did my master's thesis with Dr. Alicia Stegall. At the time, she was at Ohio University. She's now at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And she was another young woman, had these young kids, had this wonderful marriage, always going out in the field on trips internationally, taking her students with her and getting them involved in projects. Just another great, strong mentor and advisor. Then my PhD advisor, Mark Leckie, of course, he's a man, but I can't, not mention him. He's been such a good supporter of women and just absolutely anyone with a marginalized identity in STEM. So he was the one that really pushed me to get involved with IODP further, which I didn't need that much convincing. I really wanted to sail on expeditions. But he also kind of worked with me, training me or giving me opportunities really to do teaching. So furthering my teaching experience, mentorship experience. And he and I and my other advisors and mentors too just have very similar values and morals. So they're all great friends. So then when I came and did my postdoc here at Binghamton University, I also had the opportunity to work with another astounding woman, Dr. Molly Patterson. So while I was here at Binghamton, she had 2 kids. She's another woman that's absolutely just killing it in science. She's leading an Antarctic expedition. So they're going back to Antarctica to drill sites, the SWACE 2C project. She's leading that. So she's just, I'm very lucky to have her as a colleague now and another close collaborator as well. And then I have this close friend of women that I work with, Dr. Jennifer Bauer, Dr. Sarah Sheffield, and Maggie Limbeck. They're not just my close colleagues and collaborators, they're some of my closest friends as well. And they just inspire me every day to just be like a better scientist, a better mentor, better advisor, better educator. And I don't know where I'd be without them. They just kind of help me along the way. We help each other. So I have so many role models within academia and outside of it. And I'm so fortunate to have them as close friends, mentors and advisors till this day, really.
A message to inspire and empower young women and girls who are trying to pursue a career in science or micropaleontology.
So my message for anyone aspiring to get into science or micropaleontology, especially women, is to find mentors, find advisors that will help you along the way. As I mentioned, I have a lot of close mentors and colleagues, and Kristen and I go back to when I was an undergraduate student and I didn't really fully understand what I wanted to do. And I never even imagined that I would get a graduate degree, let alone be sitting here at a university being a professor. Like, that kind of still seems unreal. But without my strong mentorship from these women, I wouldn't be where I am today. So find someone who can help you. And, being a mentor doesn't mean that they have to be your academic mentor. It can be someone who's close to you in your community. And you can have several mentors. I certainly do till this day. I take advice from all of them. I go to them with issues that I'm having and for feedback. They've really helped me along my path and my career path to kind of find out who I am and explore what my interests are. And a good mentor, a good advisor should help you do that. Kind of open your world and kind of expose you to new things and new opportunities. Academia can also be, it's still hard for people like women and for other folks with marginalized identities in STEM. I've been in summer schools where I've had men come up to a group of women and say, to succeed in this field, you really have to be beautiful. And that's ridiculous. So it's important to kind of have people that will fight for you, that you can confide in and trust with going to them with things that you hear or issues like this, so you can kind of navigate how to deal with this in academia and school, wherever you are in your career phase in science, because there are still some barriers here, but together we can kind of tear this down and make it totally more inclusive for everyone.